Okay, I just finished up my first batch of gluten-free flours to see what the water needed is compared to the gluten flours to get to each of the different stages. So we did a count for the dry weight, just the cup of flour, how much it weighs. Then to get to the crumble stage, the crumbles would be like sand where you can pick it up, hold it together, and when you let it go, it stays, and then you can touch it and it will fall apart. And then the next stage I tested was to bring it into a dough ball. The next one was a thick batter like a cake batter. And then the final stage I tested was a thinner batter like you would want for pancakes. So the gluten-free flours were pretty interesting here. Across the board, they varied all over the place. So this just goes to show that everything that I was thinking going into this is pretty right on. Just that you need to have different flour based on what you are doing, based on what your recipe is calling for, and that these flours really are not one-to-one, and you can't expect that because they are from different ingredients. So the dry weight of the gluten-free flours was very similar. 148 to 168 grams for 1 cup. So, I mean, we're really talking right around 150 each. The white gold was a bit more, but not significantly so. So the flours that I did for this were the white gold all-purpose, Cup4Cup multi-purpose, Namaste, Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1, the rice-based flour, not the garbanzo bean. And they were all pretty similar when we took it up to that crumble stage. 60 grams, 41 grams, 60 grams, 59 grams, pretty similar through all of that, which was about twice of the highest of the gluten-containing flour. Whole wheat needed 31 grams, but pastry flour needed as little as 5 grams water to bring it to that stage. And they really stuck around 15 grams for the most part. Now to bring that up to a dough, the gluten-containing flours ranged from 50 grams to 89 grams of water added, where these 4 gluten-free flours I tested were all above 100 grams. 100 to 121. And so that really does like hammer in that point that we're going to need to adjust the water level of this, the moisture that we're adding into a recipe. And then when we get to the thick batter, like the cake batter, this is where it started to veer off and go all kinds of places. Namaste needed 259 grams of water, where Bob's Red Mill only needed 161. So Bob's Red Mill flour was actually very close to the self-rising flour, cake flour, and all-purpose flour, the ones that are the gluten containing. However, white gold all-purpose and Namaste needed over 200, and so we are getting a little bit further out there. We're talking more in the spelt and whole wheat range. Now the Cup4Cup multi-purpose was under 200 grams, and it did fall a little closer to like a unbleached all-purpose flour. And the thin batter, like a pancake batter, is where it really took off here. Namaste needed 550 grams of water added, where Bob's Red Mill only needed 206. White Gold and Cup4Cup kind of came in closer to the Bob's Red Mill, 307 and 295. And that's really interesting because this Namaste not only needed significantly more water than any of the gluten-containing one, but it needed significantly more water than gluten-free flours. So if you're looking at a recipe that has Namaste as the flour listed that they're using, you're going to need to change that if you're using a different flour blend. Or if you love using Namaste, which I've used it before and I like it in some applications, it is great, but you will need significantly more liquid in order to bring it to that same texture as the other ones. The most water any of the gluten flours needed added to it to bring it to that stage was 336 grams, and that's the whole wheat. And the semolina needed 328, so that's in the same range as well. So Namaste needed 550, and we should also look at the Cup4Cup multi-purpose for that pancake batter was 295, and so the closest that we're looking at here is the spelt flour, and then white gold was 307. So again, in that spelt flour range. And then the Bob's Red Mill was 206, which is very close to the regular all-purpose flour. So these all have significantly different strengths and weaknesses to each of the flours. This doesn't mean that one brand of flour is better than another. It just means we need to look at what flour we're using for which purpose. Now, I want you to stick around because we are going to try testing these flours, not with just water, but in all kinds of recipes. And we are going to compare them against each other and see what is the best gluten-free flour overall.